Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers. So mothers, be good to your daughter.
Hey, it's Jasmine here from I'm Rare, and thank you so much for joining us on another video. I have a special guest, my mother. So incomplete and so not right if I didn't have my mother there with me. So since she cannot come because she lives in New York, we figured we'd do a home video together and use that video to pretty much strengthen the workshop that I do. So thank you, Mom, for joining me.
It's a privilege.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And this is the first time we're doing a video together.
Right.
And this is my mom's first time doing a video, period. And while we're speaking about what things we want to bring to you, we thought, and something that we wanted to do was, number one, we said we wanted to speak the truth from our heart.
Yes.
And Mom actually came up with that, and I felt like that was really important because although our relationship is not perfect, and I think I want you guys to understand that this is not, experts coming to you and saying, hey, this is what we did, so do it too, because we're so far beyond working on our relationship. Absolutely not. But we wanted this to be an authentic representation of where we're journeying to. And we're always in the process of building a strong relationship between her and I. Right. And honestly, I think the older I get, the more I feel like it is so important for me to have my mother in my life. And so, yeah, different seasons. So we decided we're going to speak truth from our heart. And we're going to be real. Mom came with all this lovely stuff. We're going to be real about our mistakes. And so in this video, you're going to hear some testimonies and some stories from both of us that we hope will bless you and just shed some light on what we've both experienced that really helped our relationship. Like, we bring two very different stories to our relationship, but all in all, it made it so beautiful. And I'm so excited. You're going to hear some good stuff from her that I haven't heard until we just started to speak about this particular video. And one of our favorite scriptures, and we're extremely strong in our faith. And that's one thing I can love and appreciate about my parents. They raised us, so my sister and I, very strong in the faith. And my mom's favorite scripture that kind of represented how she raised us was Proverbs 22:6. And my very first scripture that I learned in Sunday school at 5 years old. Train up a child.
The way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart.
Not depart from that. So this is just from her teachings and my father and my grandmother's teachings to her as to why I am here. So without further delay, here we go, Ma. So building stronger relationships between mothers and daughters.
It's a top priority of all the values. In whatever you do in life. Mom always say, if you have a job, you be the best at the job. It doesn't matter if you are a street cleaner, and those days the garbage, now working and taking up garbage is a prestigious job, but those days you weren't paid as much and it was not valued as much. But she would say, if that's what you do, be the best at it. And she values education along with that. And
well, before we jump into education, I'm gonna stick with the accents. And so what I didn't say is that my mom's Jamaican. So you notice that a lot of things that she shares in the video, you can hear it comes from a different culture, a different time. And that adds like a little spice and some extra like sass, I guess, to me, knowing that my mom is from a different culture. So we'll definitely touch on that because life was so different in Jamaica than it was now, what I've experienced. But Mom talking about our grandma and her excellence. And can you give us an example of what grandma did or what you guys had to do in order for her to instill that value of excellence within you?
All of us had...
All of us meaning how many?
All of us children. My mom had 10 of us.
Yikes.
5 girls and 5 boys.
Yeah.
1 dad.
Right.
All
she said it, 1 dad.
We all were brought up, well, one my sister died when she was a baby. But my mom had 9 of us alive, and we were very close in age, a year apart. And the 4 girls of us were responsible for the housework, keeping the house together, keep the laundry, do the laundry, and all of that. So mom would, each of us girls, as the age goes, my oldest sister, she would be in charge until she was ready to take up her responsibilities. When she left, then my next sister, and so it passed on age, and it came down to me. And all of us, mom, if there's laundry, she would check the laundry after we finished washing. And remember, we didn't have washing machine. And also, the laundry detergent we use, she would make sure and tell us that that's not what's going to wash the clothes, is how much we put into it. And also how much effort is put there. And so mom would come and check the laundry when it's finished. It had to be properly rinsed, properly hung on the line. Shirts were hung a specific way. Pants were hung a specific way. Towels were hung a specific way. And everything had to be done in a specific way. That's excellence to her. And that's the best. And she feels that if we practice, we'll become perfect. Because we didn't know what we were going to be in life and what job we were going to do. And the more we give is the more we get.
And
Okay.
and talking about excellence, so mom, I can get why you were the way you are, because I remember, and mom always said excellence, 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 no matter what you did. And I remember one particular situation. So I was doing a book report, and I swear it was 5th grade, 4th or 5th grade, and I was doing this book report on Zimbabwe. Why I remembered it was Zimbabwe? Because I cannot do this book report any old way. And so I'm not sure if I used too much whiteout, and my dad always said whiteout is not paint, and so we would have to redo our work. But I remember I was rushing through it once. I did it last minute. And I remember I went to bed, and mom came home, and she was looking at the report, and it was not done in excellence. It was rushed through, slapping handwriting, and mom knows when I give my best in something. And I remember we stayed up, meaning we, like mom and I was on the floor in her bedroom. I was so upset. And I had to hand write the book report. It was like 4 or 5 pages on Zimbabwe. I had to rewrite that book report. And I stayed up until about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And she was there with me, following up, checking to make sure it's done in excellence. And I will never forget, because she always said, something you present, if you present this to your teacher, it pretty much is a representation of who you are. Exactly. And it was in cleaning, it was in schoolwork, anything someone asked us to do, whether it would be serving someone food, we had to do it in excellence. And if it wasn't done in excellence, we had to redo it. So a lot of time chores, we would kind of like do it 50-50, and sometimes tuck things underneath the bed. But mom always had a strange way of finding out that we did not do it right. And just the frustration of her having to say, nope, start from the top. And so just that annoyance and that frustration of not doing it right the first time. And she's proud, because we got the message after a while. But the fact that if you do it once and you do it right, that value of excellence, it definitely trumps all. And now in my life, although I don't have any children right now, but with my students, I always tell them to do it right in excellence. Don't give me any sloppy work. So it's like it's being passed down from generation to generation. And that is one value that my mom, I'm so proud of her for instilling within us, and for grandma to do it within them, is the value of excellence. But then also,
got a little from her, because she saw to it that I went to college. And from there, coming to America, I see more opportunity there. So what I didn't get, I gave it to my children, and I insisted that they went through school, and college was not an option.
Yeah, no, college definitely was not an option. But you said that your mom didn't get to go further in schooling.
Right.
And I know it was 9 of aunties and uncles.
Right.
What age did she start having a family?
My mom started having her children at 17 years old.
So it's
And
pretty
at
young.
30, my mom pretty much had all 10
She
of us.
finished?
Yes.
I'm 2 years away from 30. Don't even have one.
Yeah.
Wow. But it was a
And-
different day and age at that time. So it's
And I
definitely,
pretty much think it was tough on her
I
having
can imagine.
10 children or
Yeah.
9 children to feed. My dad was there,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
eventually my dad went to England
Mhm.
in order to make a better life.
And then
Right.
to send it back.
To send
you
it
guys.
back so that mom was able, first of all, we built a home because we were living, on our grandparents' land into a small bungalow.
So grandma's pretty strong.
Right.
Very strong woman. And just kind of going back to the value of education, I remember you saying that college was not an option for us. So after high school was college.
Right.
My
break.
mother and
No break.
my dad did not give us an option, no break whatsoever. And so oftentimes some parents may feel it because they didn't go too far in their education, that they have nothing to offer their children or how to maybe instill that value of education. Absolutely not so. And though I'm blessed that my parents did go to college, but they didn't give us an option. And I remember I always say, Mom, like, Mom, what age can I date after you get your education? Well, I went all the way up to my master's in 2010. And so my parents just wanted me to know, Mom, you wanted us to understand that education is the key. You always said that no one can take that away from you. And my mom was so serious to the point where in high school, 12th grade, I remember my English teacher kept saying, tell your mother to go home. We don't want to see her parent-teacher conference because I had nothing to report. But my mom always said, I need to let your teachers know that you have a mother and a father who's very involved in your education. And so having that backing, that support, even when I didn't want it, because I felt like, all right, give me a little break. I'm in high school. But my mom was on a PTA. She was definitely like physically there, physically present. And so she just didn't say education is important. She actually made sure that she was physically there and role modeled that. So pretty awesome.
Right. And knowing that teachers needed the support also.
Yeah.
So I was there so the teachers would know.
Can you say that again? Because I'm a teacher and I just want Mom to repeat.
No, that teachers really need the support and to know that parents were with them.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be there to let the teachers know and to let my children know, not just my children, but all children know that it is very important to get an education or to be focused because it was their turn at that time to get what they can, because boyfriends and other material things will be always there.
The second thing that we wanted to share that promoted a stronger relationship between us is just me reflecting on how much my mom really protected my childhood. And this is just between my mom and myself, this video, but I have 2 older sisters, and I felt like my mom and my dad, although he's not in this video, did such an amazing job with protecting our childhood and also in many ways protecting my innocence, not growing up too fast. And at the time I saw it as very overbearing, like extremely overbearing. I felt like, can I do anything? Right after school we had to come home, and I had an older sister, so I would travel with her, never walk alone. I went to one birthday party and my mom had to meet, it was in 8th grade I think, and my mom had to meet my friend's family. She dropped me off, she met the parents, but we weren't one to sleep over a lot of people's homes. We weren't able to hang out anywhere we wanted without following up and being accountable to my mom. And so wanted to know from you, it seemed very extreme at the time, But I remember I was driving to an event. I was going to speak on behalf of Rare. And I just called you up. I don't know what triggered for me to call you up, but I called you up and I said, Ma, I said, I just want to thank you for not allowing me to sleep over anybody's house that I wanted to, or hang out with every single person like I wanted to, because I'm hearing so many stories of sisters from the organization, but also close friends who were touched inappropriately. You know, they were exposed to certain things that robbed them of their innocence. And so in many ways, now that I'm older, I appreciate the fact that there was structure and that my mom was so involved, that she had to meet their parents before and speak with them, just like all up in my business. But Mom, I wanted to know from you as to why you made sure that like protecting my childhood was so important to me, or important to you.
Well, children are vulnerable and innocent
Yeah.
and don't understand, but they're adults who are evil or will take disadvantage and advantage of
Yeah.
children. Even so more today than even when my children were growing up or when I was growing up. But because there was an incident in my life as a young girl when my mom went to England for a year and I went to live with my teacher. And she had a nephew much older than I was. Also, she had brothers that would come by.
And how old were you when you
And,
went to live with the teacher?
I went to live with this teacher for 5 years. I left home when I was 10. And somewhere in between that 10 to 15, because I went back home at the age of 15, and I had to put up with molestation from both male brothers who could be my father and a nephew who was much, much older than I was. And I could not tell my guardian because there was no way I could divulge it. I don't think she would believe me with that, inappropriate touching, So I went through that. And I vowed when I started having my children, even before I had children, that I'd never let my children go and live or go to other people's homes that I didn't know who was there, what was there, because I don't know what goes on. If I didn't know you very well, I know what goes on in your household, because every day you hear about incidents that even relatives come over to spend time. They meet up on a unlicensed gun or a gun or with some kind of weapon in the house, or people that inappropriately touch children, or and so you didn't want somebody to molest your little daughter or even your little son. Because at that moment, confusion starts in those little children's mind.
Yeah.
What is this happening to me? And then most of these molesters, they threaten the children. If you speak, I'm going to get your family, or I'm going to get you. Or your parents will think it's you is a problem. And so I made sure the best way I know how to avoid all of that is to not let my children sleep over or go to these parties that I don't know is going on.
Daughters, sometimes moms can seem, and parents in general, but sometimes mothers can seem very overprotective, seem extreme in what they're doing. But sometimes, like I've learned from a mother, I may not understand why, I didn't understand why. She was so careful and so intentional with doing what she did. But if you really just listen to your mother, and if mom and daughters just sit down and communicate, and just have really authentic conversation as to why certain things happen, or mom, why you do certain things, And mom's always big on there's a season for everything. So a lot we did not hear and learn about when we were younger, because a lot of things we couldn't handle. So if I heard that from my mother when I was a teenager, it probably would have it would have been too much. It would have been too much of a burden. But I'm glad that she was very timely in what she shared. But if you just listen to each other, communicate, and just really trust each other to know that parents do things for a reason. And sometimes it seems very weird and extreme, but just trust that your mom is doing it with great intentions in mind and with you in mind. And so I hope that kind of always, and I hope that sets the level of just comfort and knowing that you may not understand, but mothers have your best interest at heart. And so, yeah, love you, Mom, for doing that.
Daughters will love like you do. Girls become lovers who turn into mothers. So mothers